Welcome back to season 2 of HU Flow podcast. I'm your host, Marilyn Spencer, with my co-host, Stephen Gayle. And today we have Caitlin Campbell as our guest. Hello, Caitlin.
Thank you for having me.
So, Caitlin, you're an HU graduate now. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in spring of 2020.
And what was your degree while you were at HU?
So on my official degree, it says integrative sciences, but I guess you could say my concentrations were biology and forensics.
So with biology and forensics, now that you've graduated, what was sort of your approach? Why did you take those concentrations?
Well, my first plan was to do forensics because I saw HU at my high school at like a fair, and I was like, oh, cool. So I have a PA school that is teaching forensics. So that was my initial thing. I kind of was thinking about doing a double major, and then I was like, oh man, I don't want to be in college for 5 years. So I kind of nixed the biology thing. But because I was overhauling every single semester on credits, so I think I maxed out every single semester except the first one. So I was taking upwards of like 22 to 24 credits a semester. They kind of told me like, hey, you're going to graduate early or you can add another concentration, because they weren't going to let me to take biochemistry. So I kind of figured out my schedule, went one summer to the community college that's here and finished with both concentrations. So it might have been an original plan, but I kind of lost hope, and then I kind of did it.
So what career path were you hoping or aiming for with all those classes and credits?
I'm the type of person that wants to get as much knowledge as I can. I try and learn on a good amount of subjects, because I always thought, like, I know forensics is a growing field, but I wanted to be competitive. I wanted to be different instead of like, okay, you got a forensics degree, you got a forensics degree. So my dream in life is to be a forensic toxicologist working for the FBI. So that's like my big career plan.
Awesome. That's really cool. Let's get into it more with Steven. What do you have for us?
Okay. So Caitlin, you and me, same graduating classes. I always show love here. So you have a very interesting career, and
Thank you.
I've always been fascinated with it. But I want to dive a little bit into kid Caitlin. Okay. So Caitlin, where are you originally from?
So I was born in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then we moved here. So I am from Brookhaven, Pennsylvania. But if you're not known to this area, I'm like 20 minutes outside of Philly.
Gotcha. So how was life for you growing up, as a kid? Was it like, especially around, was your career something as a kid you already knew you wanted to do, or was it just over time it just became its own thing?
One of the most embarrassing stories I have to tell you is that when I was a kid, I told people that I was going to work CSI one day. Like, I've known out the gate. I want to say that I was born to do this, but I guess I've always been obsessed with this, and I've stuck with it. So.
Okay. So this was just something like from the jump. You just like, I like this. I'm gonna keep going with it. That's nice. So,
Yeah.
as a kid, you kept with that same dream, and then middle school to high school you. So, a lot of our viewers are high school kids. And how would you describe your high school years? Was it kind of crazy, kind of not so crazy? Like, how would you describe the 4 years you had at college? I mean, not college, high school.
To be honest, I never want to go back.
Oh,
I
okay.
would I would never want to go back to high school.
Gotcha.
Just for like personal reasons. I feel like it's filled with drama, and I'm not a part of that. I just don't have time for it.
Good.
But I will say I had some pretty awesome teachers. I had one teacher in particular, two teachers. I would like, if they listen to this podcast, I would like to tell them thank you, because without them, I don't think I would have survived high school.
Okay.
Mr. Taylor, who was our astronomy teacher, and Mr. Page, who is my AP English teacher. They were like the purest human beings in any form, and they would like give me books on forensics because they knew I was interested in it. They would give me like ideas of things to look up, different cases that popped up around the world. They would ask me if I knew about it, and we would have long, in-depth conversations. they were two people that I think made going to school so much easier because I got to have really cool conversations that I didn't know to have. And I think they molded me and got me ready for college when I wasn't prepared.
Damn, that's nice. I really like that those teachers really played a crucial role in getting you ready for college, and I
Oh
think
my God.
teachers are like not getting enough like recognition for the amazing thing they do for some of their students. Like for you, it sounds like they just basically went up and above, and that's really dope to hear.
Yes.
So,
I thank them all the time. Like I'm friends with one of them on Facebook. Mr. Page doesn't have Facebook, but I think of them very often, and like still to this day, Mr. Taylor will like comment on my posts on Facebook, or like when I graduated, he was like, "You're graduating already? I'm 1,000 years old." Like it was really awesome. I think just to be able to stay in touch with some really incredible people.
that's dope, dude. I'm loving that. So when it now you told us that you found HU through they came to your school if I recall from that conversation.
Yes.
So was there any other college that you were thinking of going before HU came knocking? Or was this like HU and that's it?
So when I found HU, that was it. Like that was my goal. But I applied to other schools.
Mhm.
If my memory serves me correctly, I think I applied to 13 schools.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm not one to think that I'm going to get into like my dream. So
Mhm.
I thought I have my like first round picks, if you will, because like I'm a big sports person. So I was like first round draft HU. And then like the other ones were like, I'd be happy with it, but none of them really had my majors. I had to take biology, biochemistry, things like that. Nothing had forensics. It was like criminal justice and things like that. So I'm
Gotcha.
gonna say HU was like I don't know, like like that one really cool rock and all of the other rocks because I was like, oh, finally, like I got it.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, because from when we asked a lot of our guests about like the process for them like picking the school, it was like a lot of them say HU came to my school, or like I think one of our guests literally found an ad on Instagram for it, and then just like you know what, I'm just gonna pick it and go from there. And it was kind of funny to see how that like people find it in their own ways.
Oh
And
yeah.
my last question I'll ask before I pass it to Marilyn. So, how would you describe your transition from going from a college high school senior to a college freshman? Was that transition very easy for you? Was it like something unique? Like, did you have like a culture shock effect to it?
Do you want me to be extremely honest?
Oh, yes.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. A lot of people don't talk about. Now you let me know if you don't want me to go in depth like this, but
Yeah,
I
you
got
got it, bro.
severely depressed. I'm going to be real honest. Like, and I know that it was a lot of me not like willing to go out because it was like what you said, culture shock. Like,
Mhm.
I went from Philly suburbs, to like Harrisburg, which is a completely different city. I won't even call it a city, business city,
Yeah.
like I felt trapped being there because we didn't have like a system that I was familiar with. Like I couldn't leave, so it was very difficult. But I will say like teachers that I met, like professors, really kind of forced me to get out of my shell.
Okay.
Like forced me because I was like, okay, because I'm a very outgoing person. If like Steven will tell you, he could pick out my voice from like 3 floors away. I am
Facts.
loud. That's who I am. And I talk to everybody. But in the very beginning, I was really scared because I purposely chose a school that I knew nobody at because I wanted to be myself, instead of like high school me. Like everybody kind of knows you from like fetus to 12th grade. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to meet new people. And so it definitely was a culture shock.
I feel that. I mean, I can definitely relate to that. But the thing is, I came up here my sophomore year because I spent my freshman year at the Philadelphia campus. But then again, I had people from my high school come with me, so I didn't feel as bad. But like, I can still relate to it to some extent. That is crazy, and I'm really happy that you got out of your shell into the person I know today. Because I'm like,
Thank
Caitlin,
you.
like I said, I can just peep her out at everybody. Okay, people, I know her like the back of my hand, and she's awesome. But I'll pass it on to Marilyn to kind of go into your college life.
Yeah, so I think culture shock is something a lot of us can relate to. But you mentioned that your professors, some of them forced you out of your shell in some ways. Would you mind going into that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind at all. So if I remember correctly, it was Dr. Fogel, Dr. Fury, Dr. Benini, which that's a funny story of how I met him, and Professor Geddes. I am obsessed with that woman. Professor Geddes was everything to me.
I love her.
Right? Like, how could you not? But those four, I think, kind of made me go like, okay, so I have to be not assertive, but like I am going after what I want. I'm now not in a public school system. I am paying to be here, so I deserve to get what I want out of this. That was Professor Geddes, by the way. She full on was just I used to go early to her class and stay late just to talk to her. Like, loved her. And Dr. Benini was actually my advisor. And I I like had to get up my courage because I was like, never met this dude. I need him to sign some paperwork for me. So I knocked on his door, opened it, and said, here, I need you to sign this on one of your advisees. And he just went, okay. And that's how our relationship started. Dr. Fury, I mean, if anybody knows Doc, like, he is one of the most wholesome people. He's absolutely intimidating when you first meet him, because I did not want to go up and talk to him because I was like, I want him to take me under my wing, and I am such a nerd. Like, he's gonna make fun of me, which he does, but I absolutely adore. And Dr. Fogel, she's just like a breath of fresh air. She's truly like sunlight in a human being. And if it really wasn't for like her and Dr. Fury and Professor Geddes, I would not have stayed at HU, to be very honest. Because when my depression hit, being first year, I thought I was never going to succeed in college. And for those three, I don't want to get like emotional about it, but like they were like the pinnacle, like the triad of keeping me there and keeping me sane. So like, if anything, they rock. And anybody that I was like advising after that, I was like, you need to go to these people. Like, they are everything. Go to these people.
I mean, I can second that for a lot of those professors. They are truly amazing. So for other students who may be in a similar situation as you, maybe it's their first year and they're struggling to some depression, what would be some of your advice? You've shared getting connected with professors, but if you'd be able to speak maybe towards individuals in a similar situation as you.
Leave your room. Leave it. Because I stayed in like my little bed. Leave your room. Go out into the world. Like, go talk to your professors, because even if you're intimidated, they are the most wonderful people there at HU. Like, I will say, I haven't met all of them. So the people that I've met care about their students so much. Like, they were students too. And some of them are close to our age. Go talk to them, because they had probably just done it. Like, go out, go to the counseling services. I forget her name. Insert here. I don't know her name. But she helped me so much, because when it got really bad, I was able to talk to her, and she didn't make me feel like I was invalidated. Like, she really talked to me as if she was in my shoes, which I'm sure she could have been one day. But don't be afraid to ask for help. I was terrified, and I think I missed out on a lot my first semester because I was so scared. So you're not the only one. I guarantee it. I met so many people that were in the same boat, because once I spoke up about it, people started to speak up about it. So don't be afraid to do that, because you have no idea how many people are like screaming on the inside that are so afraid to be where they are, that the minute that they hear like, oh, you're in the same boat as me, like you'll find those people. It's like a magnet.
That's so true. Some great advice. Now, you mainly went through the hardest parts of your transition in your freshman year, right?
Yes.
So after your freshman year, what did the rest of your college career look like? Were you involved in a lot of clubs, or we know you're very outgoing, so what were you up to?
Forensics club, math club, SGA. Not that I was like I'm like a council member, but I was I would go to those meetings a lot of times. I became a writing and math tutor. um, yeah, that's the best my memory works for me right now. Those were like the big things that I started doing at the university.
Awesome. So you were definitely involved in a lot of different things and you enjoyed it?
Loved. I loved it. I kick myself for being so pessimistic because I find myself being that personality type. But looking back, I gotta thank HU. Like I really gotta thank the opportunities that I got from there, because like a cool thing that I got to do that I never thought I would be able to do was I got a presidential grant to do research. Like, how many people can say that? I like, not a lot, you know what I mean? So it's just like I got some awesome things that thank you that happened that I don't think any big school like Penn State or something like that, I don't think you would get that kind of treatment, because I became really good friends with my professors. And what's weird is now they're like colleagues, and that is like the grossest thing to think about. Like, to think of calling like Professor Yakel like Jill. I'm like, ugh, like I don't want to disrespect you like that.
Well, before I pass it over to Steven, I'd just like to ask you about that research grant.
Oh, I sorry. So it was a presidential grant. It was me and Dr. Fury and Dr. Majid and Shannon. Actually, that was the four of us that started it. So it was I'm not going to bore you with the long name, but pretty much it was an artificial intelligence looking at serial killer trends and data.
Wow. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Steven, if you want to dive into that sounds amazing.
I remember hearing about the grants when they're announced. So for those at home, every year, if I remember right, the HU gives out presidential grants to professors who team up with students to create a lot of different variety of projects. And it's very unique because you're getting students the opportunity to work on these big grants with legit money, not like, oh, this is just fake money. No, this is real money, people, and it's really a dope opportunity. So I'm just curious on the focus on like how did the idea of it come to pass? Was it just something like everyone was just universally like, let's just talk about serial killers in that case?
I mean, duh, serial killers are awesome. Take that as a grain of salt. I don't mean that what they do is awesome, but they are human phenomenons is really, I guess,
Right.
I would like to say. So specifically, our like grant title was profiling serial killer behavior using the Radford FGCU serial killer database. So I did this for 2 semesters. God, yeah, I did this for 2 semesters. Now that I think about it, that was a long time. But I think I really hope that I'm right. I think we got $10,000 to do this research. Now, what was really cool was Radford University and Florida Gulf Coast University started this thing where they were trying to compile all the information that they could about serial killers. So it had all different variables like home life, IQ, if they did the triad, which if you don't know, for serial killers, it's like bedwetting, setting fires, and hurting animals.
Hmm.
That's like the 3 things that you look for really in like childhood to see like, oh, this trend is problematic. And including like victims, demographics. I mean, it was incredible. Like what they were doing and starting was so cool. So we got access to that to use to actually to like help build off of that. So it was, I don't know, it was over 40 variables. I know that for sure. So my Excel program was gigantic. But we had well over 7,000 serial killers in this database.
Okay, I mean, damn, that is the grind right there. I mean, you got it, my friend. I haven't had as big as a Excel sheet as much as like what 200. So, you got it.
It hurts. It hurts so much because when it crashes, you're just like, I hope it's saved.
Oh, nah, that's nightmares right there. Okay, when you bring up the topic of crashing, I'm thinking of classes and all the fun stuff you get from them. So, if you had to say, what was your favorite class you ever took at HU?
Oh, come on, dude. I did 2 majors.
Oh yeah, I know. Okay. I'll give you this. Like, you can't just pick one. I'll give you like just pick three that come to mind.
That were like my favorite.
Yeah, favorite. Like you can't knock them. Like I would do it again just because.
Oh, all right. So integrative sciences with Dr. Fury because he broke my brain. And I thought that was really cool. Like if you've never taken integrative sciences with him, you really missed out because we went over like, are you a brain in a box? The cave theory. Like our exams were like, I will remember this question till the day that I die and I would do it again is how do you know you're not a brain in the box? And as I'm writing it, you got to the point where you're like, oh my God, am I in a simulation? Like it just broke you. And I thought that was so cool because it forced you to think of like the singularity and things like that.
Mhm.
So I hands down would take it for the next 50 years if I could. Absolutely. Break my brain. Let's talk about some philosophical ideas. Like, let's do it. So that one, you know what? I would I would take physics again with Dr. Benini. Absolutely. Hands
Gotcha.
down. Mainly because he is so into it. And I think that's what made me love it. Like I already loved math, but watching an astronomer and a physics like mold into a person was absolutely incredible. And I will never forget to talk about like force. So like, like a figure skater, how if you hold your arms out, you slow down, but if you tuck them in real quick that you spin. He put mica on a spinner
Oh
and had
my
him hold 2
God.
equal textbooks and do that. And I still have the video on my phone. And it's the fact that he made Micah do that, hands down, favorite thing in the world. And also, I loved getting under his skin because I would correct him on his math because, if he didn't have his coffee or a cigarette, he'd be
Yeah.
like losing it. So the one day he handed me a marker and was like, go up there. And I was like, no.
That sounds
No.
about right.
And he was like, no, I'll tell you what to do. And I was like, oh. And he was like, well, you can do better math than me, apparently. And I was like, no, I gotta pause on that. And he also gave me a clock that I still have. It's not hanging up in here, but it's all the math that you could imagine on a clock face. And it says there's no crying in physics. Because I said that physics made me cry. And so he bought that for my birthday, that there was no crying in physics. So it's like one of my prized possessions.
That is so sweet.
Isn't it? I'm obsessed with Benini. If I could put him in my pocket and take him wherever I go, I would. Like, absolutely. A third one. One of the biology courses with Dr. Fogel. Because she really got me into biology. If I had to pick one, I think I would take genetics again because it was so much fun with her and like learning how and why things happen and that you could probably figure out the mathematical probability for why your kids will have blue eyes if you put 2 people together was really interesting. And we got to talk about some real world things and diseases that are, genetically passed down. So I think it just made me really more interested in science and that kind of thing. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
those are my three.
My last question before I pass back to Marilyn to talk about you, what you're currently doing right now in life after college. So we like always asking about college culture and how people interpret it because everyone interprets it differently. We focus specifically on the idea of cliques. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. Um,
Yeah.
so basically, do you see the concept of cliques? Because especially at HU, we have a small university. There's a small amount of people here. You'll see technically the same person almost every single day. Do you think clicks here are a kind of a positive thing or a negative thing?
Um, I think it's an interesting dynamic at HU. I don't know if it's both. I think it's both positive and negative
Okay.
because I think I'm sure we all remember freshman year you had to take all those gen ed courses. So everybody across every single major was in the same class together. And I think that was cool because you got to see people's different perspectives. You got to see people that you wouldn't normally see. But I find that because we're at a small school, once you're in your major, once you get like higher up, which of course makes sense, you're going to stick with the same people
Right.
over and over again. Those are going to be who you see every single day, you know, and it's rare when you're like, oh, I have a class with environmental science. That's interesting. Or, oh, you're biochemistry? Like, you know, you're like, why are you here? Kind of. But I think it's in a way, I think it's positive in the way that you get with like-minded people that are going towards a similar goal. So like if you're really struggling in a class, you got about 25 people that are doing the same damn thing as you. We'll figure it out. I
Right.
think in the negative way is as you start to progress, you start to lose touch with other people's majors. And I know that because you become more, I don't know what I want to say. I feel like as you become like you put yourself in that box that you're going for, you become more selective, I guess you could say, with your future. You're going to miss out on that kind of stuff. And I don't like it because I love learning about everything and everybody and what you study, because I think it's beneficial because it could teach you another way of learning, if
Right.
that makes sense. So I think if we, because once you kind of stick with your group, it's real hard to get out. But I love talking, like, as you know, Stephen, I will talk to anybody and everybody.
Sure.
Like, unless we differ on serious opinions, I will talk to you, you know, just be respectful is kind of my thing. So I had friends across all majors, and I think it was really cool hearing their classes. You know, like I would get jealous of people that were in like media studies and they're like, oh, I get to take like photographs. And I was like, oh, great. I get to go into a lab for 4 hours, but like, yeah, take your photographs, you know, but it was cool seeing how, you know, people photoshopped because like I didn't learn that, you know, only for myself, or how, you know, Tiffany in environmental sciences would tell me about like runoff in sewers and like how important that is. And I was like, I never I thought of it because I'm conscious of what's going on in the earth, but I didn't think like right down the street I had to worry about it,
Right.
you know? So I think we have a very interesting environment at HU that I think is really positive in a lot of ways. But I do see that, like you said, there can be some problems
Right.
if you stick with your clicks. But I think that's just what you see anywhere.
Sure. I mean, like drama is its own little device. And I liked how you're saying you're just trying to be understanding a lot of different people, and I know you always like that. It's like a classic. There's this old Japanese proverb about a frog in a well cannot swim in the ocean. So if you remained in the well, you would never explore all the vast knowledge you can see in the ocean. So kind of hits on the same note. But with that being said, I'll pass on to Marilyn to talk to you about life after college.
I really felt what you said about being like, oh, there's that one kid in this random class, because I took coding with Rumbaugh and he was like, oh, I got this many computer science students, I got this many IMed students, and I have one business student, and I'm just in the back of the class like,
Exactly. Doesn't that kind of feel like, oh, don't look at me. Don't look. No, it's her over there. It's her.
Like, I don't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in the class either because I don't take classes with computer science students. but it was a cool experience because like I got to know a couple people. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so I love learning too. I think I share that as well. But life after college. So recent graduate, man, how's that? That's gotta feel good. How's that feel?
It kind of felt unreal. It like I know the pandemic hit, so it didn't feel real. I felt like I was in this I was like in limbo. You know what I mean?
Oh
It
yeah.
felt weird, and then it was like, oh hey, it's May. You're graduating, or whatever. Whenever we graduated, whatever month it was, May, March, one of those. No, March was when the pandemic hit. So May. Okay, May. So so May came around. I dressed up because I was like, you know what? This pandemic's not going to get me down. Just because you took my chance to walk across the stage doesn't mean I'm not gonna celebrate it. So I watched the whole thing. I made my whole family log into it, whether they were with me or not. I didn't force. I asked my boyfriend to come over, and he brought champagne. Like, you know, we graduated, and I thought it was really cool. Like, I think it was probably a little bit better because you didn't have to sit through all the speeches. And then once you got your degree or whatever, you didn't have to wait for everybody else. Like, yeah, it was cool to see your friends, but like, no offense to like the grad students that would be there. Like, I don't know none of them. Like, I don't know any of them. So I'd be like, yay. Like, I'd be like,
Exactly.
run and get it. Like, let's make this quick. I felt like that in my own high school. So like, I don't mean any disrespect to those grad students, but when you have a huge class, at one point you get tired of clapping because you're like, we've seen it, do it again, But now that I've graduated, I went back to school, and I'm currently pursuing my master's degree.
Awesome. Wow. What are you getting your master's in?
So I am studying forensic toxicology at Thomas Jefferson University.
Cool. So, also, side note for those at home, HU had their let's see, their class of 2020 had their graduation online. So that's what Caitlin is referring to is no one walked across the stage. There wasn't any of that. We had an online graduation because of the pandemic. So I think a lot of us feel like we were in limbo for those couple months, like that it wasn't real. And then I imagine jumping right back into school, you're like, well, back at it again or
Yep.
something like that.
It's exactly what it felt, because it just, on a sad note, the pandemic definitely robbed us of that, and I think I didn't cry at all in March when they sent us home, because I was like, we'll be back, because it doesn't feel real that like you're living through history, like a historical event. Like, you don't think of it like how bad it was going to be. I don't think anybody really knew just how bad. And then
Not at all.
you didn't come back, and then you're taking classes in your bedroom, and you're not seeing your friends anymore, and now you're back home, and then it's graduation, and you don't even get to like put on your cap and gown. You know what I mean? Like, I, for myself, which like I'll grab it because this is like how I made it feel real for myself. So I decided that I was going to decorate a cap. I kind of got it in my head that just because I wasn't going to walk across the graduation doesn't mean I don't get the same opportunities like everybody else. So I decorated one, and I wore it, that I bought myself on Amazon, because I was like, you know what? I'm so tired of reading the negativity that's out there about this pandemic. I'm so tired of feeling down about it. I'm going to make something awesome out of it. And so that's what I did. And I hope everybody got the opportunity to do something like that. Like, I still took graduation pictures. We still made a big deal of it in my household, because guess what? It was still a big deal. Doesn't matter if it was online or not, because we all earned it.
Damn straight. Damn, 100% damn straight. That. Not sorry to cut you off, Marilyn. You was about to talk, but like,
Nah, that about sums it up, honestly.
okay. So you just want to hop back to me?
Yeah, take it away.
Okay. I mean, dude, I think the energy is definitely what a lot of us who graduated feel. Not just of HU but like all kids who graduate class of 2020, you know, you 4 years you put in the time, the effort, the amount of sacrifices you had to make, the money that went into it, it paid off that day, regardless if it was online or if you could do it in person in a limited capacity. Celebrate the day. Everyone reacted differently to it, but at the end of the day, it was a good day. But regardless of however you want to think about it. But okay, Caitlin. So you're in grad school
Oh shit.
now, and it's like, how is that experience since it's online? Unfortunately.
So something crazy. Like I try not to brag, but definitely something that I will brag about because I think that I earned it was I got accepted into a program that only has 8 other people.
Okay.
Like, this is it. Yeah, so I get to be in person for my labs. I get to do that. I get to be in a lab that is worth probably $1 million. Like, I'm not even kidding. The amount of machines that are in there just make me cringe because they're like, yeah, we just break these. They're $250 a pop. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want to break it. It's just I get to be in a lab with people that are so amazing. Like, the head of the program, his name is Dr. Logan. And if you don't, Dr. Barry Logan. And if you don't know who that is, he is pretty much like a co-author on almost all forensics books, textbooks.
Ooh,
Like,
okay.
yeah, he has his wall in his office like littered with degrees. He is so accomplished, like what I thought I was accomplished walking in because I was like, you know what, I did more than like, just I did 2 degrees. I did that in 4 years, and then I walk in to get interviewed for grad school, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. No, get me out. Like, I was looking for an exit.
Oh my God. Damn, dude, that is crazy. I mean, I'm glad you're still getting that lab experience. I know that's been a struggle for some people, but like, that's really dope that you're in good hands from the sounds of it. Because this guy, Dr. Logan, sounds really accomplished for what you're telling us, and shout out to him. Sounds like he's doing a good job of getting you guys in gear during all this going on. Um, so you're a grad student, you're in college, so you said the goal is kind of where do you see yourself like 5 years from now, if you had to like think about it?
In a perfect world where everything works out and nobody cries about anything,
Hmm.
I'll be a graduate with my master's degree. I'll be published, and I will be doing my dream of working with the FBI, whether in New York City or here in Philadelphia.
Hey, that's the vibe. I like that. I like that. I mean, that is awesome. And two more questions for you. First, what advice would you give someone who's debating whether or not they want to go to grad school during all this going on?
I don't want to say do it just because I'm doing it.
Mhm.
I want everybody to. It's hard. I don't know if I can give any serious advice because every person is different. If you can't do the online thing, because that's what my lectures are online. Some of them I got the opportunity, like one of them I got the opportunity to be in person, but most of them they were online. If you feasibly can't do it, you can put it on hold. Grad school will still be there in 2 years. If you don't feel comfortable and, like depression and anxiety is at like a peak, don't add something else to your plate because guess what? Your mental health and how you are is so much more important than forcing yourself to be in a place that you feel like you need to be. So if it's something that in your heart of hearts, you're like, I can do it, I can put in the work, I'm willing to deal with it, do it. Absolutely. And I'm cheering you on, whoever you are. If you feel like right now I can't do it because it's too much, I am cheering you on. And I hope whatever you do is fulfilling and that you are happy. So I don't know if I can give any real advice. I want everybody in this lifetime to be happy. And it's such a short life, and anything can happen at the drop of a hat anymore, especially in the 2 year, like 2020 to 2021 already. Be happy. That is my biggest advice. And if it's grad school, do it. If it's not, don't do it.
That, I mean, dude, I think you just gave the best advice at all. Just be happy. Just simple to the point, especially grad school. Like, It's up to you, man. Don't force yourself to do it if you don't want to do it. And my last question I'll ask, because Marilyn, I'm assuming you don't have any other questions you want to ask to our lovely guests today.
No, I have learned a lot about you today, and it's been great to hear from you and your perspective as like a double major in a field that I know like nothing about. So thank you for
If you ever
sharing
want
all
to
about that
ask,
with us.
absolutely. If you are watching the news and you're like, okay, I know one person that might be on this and obsessively reading about it, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, like definitely.
I
Well,
feel
when you were
that.
talking about like talking with other people about their degrees, I'm sure you're familiar with my roommate Maura. She'll come back from class and tell me all about how to like kill somebody, and I'm like, whoa. Sounds
Yeah,
great.
all right. What she was in forensics club with me. She
Oh, yeah.
definitely is a cool person. Yeah, exactly. Like I roomed with Sam DeValtrin. So she was biotech, knew nothing of biotech. Couldn't tell you what I knew. Biology was like the cellular life, and technology had something to do with it. But sitting there and listening to somebody's passion, like listening to you guys with your majors and watching somebody's eyes light up, even if I have no interest in it, makes it that much more interesting. Like I will listen to you go on your soapbox for the next 6 to 7 hours as long as we can break for food. Like talk to me about your passions. Seriously, because I think once you open up that door in that conversation, you learn so much. Like you would never know about how to kill somebody. Like not that that's beneficial, but like you learn about different ways that it's happened in life. But or just like people that have gotten away with it for so long and you're like, well, how did you do that? And then you look at the clock and it's like 10 o'clock at night and you're like, oh, we didn't eat, like we just had this full conversation. I think that's awesome. Like talk to people that are outside your wheelhouse because you're going to learn so much more interesting things.
That is, man, that is, yo, man. Look, Caitlin, you taking the words right out of my mouth. That's what I do all the
That's the
time, and
takeaway.
I enjoy doing those things. Um, but my last question was, Caitlin, and was there anyone you just wanted to say any special thanks to while you're on this podcast that comes to mind, or
All right, I do. So Dr. Fury, Professor Yeakel, Dr. Fogel, Dr. J or Dr. Jackson, and Geddes, Dr. Benini, like without you guys, I don't think I would have succeeded at all. Like I'm getting like teary eyed thinking about it because
oh, dude.
stop. They were such a big inspiration to me. So they were important to me. Tiffany Smith, Sam DeValtrin, Aaliyah Johnson, Abby. Man, I just blanked on her last name. Oh, she's gonna get so mad at me. Like I right now have them all up on my wall.
Oh, look at
Like
you.
I'll show you just because I like embarrassing myself. So and Morgan Straw. I completely forgot about her. So like these are my memories.
Ah, that is, man. That is crazy. Yo, I know. Wait, actually, low key, I remember some of these pictures being taken. I was in the background. That's crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. Like these are my people. Like if they knew like you, Steven, meeting you was awesome. Like if I and you, Marilyn, like I wish I had known you in college. Like seriously, you're really awesome. Like I thank every person I met at HU because I wouldn't be me. That's it. I wouldn't be me.
Um, um,
Oh,
Wow.
good. You're getting emotional too,
The
so I
I'm
don't
very
feel as
good.
bad.
emotional
I'm
Steven.
good. I'm good. I'm good.
I'm serious. I mean every word. Like I would never have gone back to college without you guys. I wouldn't have been able to succeed without you guys. And every memory I have is so important. And if I die one day and I get to live every memory over again, I'll be so happy.
Oh, Caitlin, you have done so much, in the little time I've gotten to know you, you have left a very impactful moment in my life. And, I thank you for that. And I wish you nothing but the best in life. And there's
Thank
so much, it's, man,
This
that,
is gonna be on YouTube. There's tears. I
yeah,
did makeup so I wouldn't cry.
yeah, I didn't
Oh my
think about
goodness.
I didn't think about that. Um,
I
damn.
don't put it up there because I think it's important for people to be vulnerable, and I think it's important to show emotion. And I'm not a big emotional type person, like with crying and stuff, but when it's out of love, like I truly hope everybody knows just how much they meant to me, because at the end of the day, I couldn't have done it. I really couldn't. Like, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I grinded, I did this. It was like, yeah, I grinded, but if I had nobody to share it with, it wouldn't have been worth it.
Yeah, dude, I feel that 100%. Oh man, Caitlin, bro, yesterday was a time, and today you have enlightened me with some good vibes. I mean, man, I think this is a great way to end a podcast here on something like this. It's just a reminder that you meet some amazing people in college. People, I would if you college, yes, is a choice, but I think if you really are considering of it, I think you should try it out. Not just for the education. I think there's a good social experience you get from this. It really helps you. And look, I
Absolutely.
can say that with confidence. Caitlin and also Marilyn can also say that. So um, with that being said, I just want to thank Caitlin for coming on the H2 Flow. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're awesome in every single way, and I appreciate you
Thank
just
you for the
being.
opportunity.
I mean,
Seriously.
I, no problem, dude. I mean, when I was thinking of people we wanted to get on for our next set, you came to mind just because I just knew you for a long time. I know you're a really cool person. I was like, I gotta hit you up, and Facebook Messenger was the goal, and we got in there. So it was like,
Oh my God, at like 11 o'clock at night, right?
oh yeah,
Like, we
that
talked
was
for like 3 hours.
yo, it's like I didn't feel like 3 hours. That's the crazy part. Cause I was like, I called you first, but then you thought it was by accident. But then I was like, all right, let me just text her and say, yo, hey fam. So it wasn't by accident. I was trying to ask you something, and then
Yeah, yeah. Well,
um,
because I never assume anybody's going to call me at 11 o'clock at night. Like, I'm usually in bed. I'm a 105-year-old woman. I should be sleeping.
see, the typical college student I know is never asleep at this time yet. So I was just going off of that, and I was like, let me
Well,
wing it.
because I'm an insomniac. I have to have a sleep schedule. The minute I'm off of it, you're right. I'm up at like, I'm watching the sunrise like a little gremlin in my blanket hut. Like, no, I gotta be in bed at a certain time where you're going to see hangry Caitlin. And
True.
she's not a nice person to meet.
Yeah, she's not.
Hey,
Well,
hey, hey, hey. You're not a nice person when you're hungry too, Steven. I don't want to
okay,
hear it.
okay, you right, you right, you right, you right, you right.
Don't call me out
Hilarious.
on a podcast. I'll get you right back.
Can't, I mean, you know what, guys, she got me. It's cool, but it's cool. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, that's been an HU Flow podcast. We thank you for watching. Wherever you find this, subscribe, follow, like, and comment, share it to amongst your friends and family. To our HU community, we want to wish you guys a happy New Year's. Hope you're all well. And as always, for your host, I'm Steven. That's Marilyn. That's our lovely guest, Caitlin. We thank you guys, and we will see you guys next time. Farewell.